Hey everybody, welcome today to today's webinar. I'm Tom Foster, and here I have a special guest, my old buddy, Ben Glass, who trekked all the way down the street, which took you about 5 minutes to get here.
There's a lot of traffic in Fairfax right now. We have money, we're building new roads.
Right there. It's a good time to start working on those roads right now. And speaking of roads, we're talking about how difficult it is these days for lawyers to market themselves, and you've been marketing yourself. You're a pioneer of lawyer marketing. You've been doing it for a long time. We've been doing it together for a long time. And so we wanted to kind of share with everybody today some of the difficulties that you know, because you talk to a lot of lawyers all the time, and the difficulties that you find yourself in practice. So Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about the challenges that lawyers are facing?
Well, my main difficulty, as I told you before we went live, is that we're fostering puppies now. So somebody thought that was a good idea, and I'm getting even less sleep than I was.
And this is in addition to your 9 children?
Yeah, 5 teenagers at home, 2 of whom I'm teaching to drive as we speak. So I'll have no red hair left in a bit.
Very good.
But let's talk about this, because, yeah, you're right, Tommy. You and I have been together for a long time. Even really before Great Legal Marketing, you were building my website, and we did a pretty good job together, even though we really didn't know what we were doing. This was the advent of the internet. But there are 2 major things, I think, that have changed in the last 3, 4, 5 years that have really affected our market, which is solo and small firm lawyers, which is who Foster Web Marketing serves, who Great Legal Marketing serves. We'll talk about both in this webinar, but you know, the first is, and we'll come back to this part, is that the consumer is different now, right? The consumer is instant everything, self-help, and you would not believe, Tom, how many web forms and phone calls we get over the weekend at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
People and they think that they're talking to a live answer in a law firm. So the consumer is different, but the market also has totally changed. It was interesting in Forbes magazine, which I read, called the legal industry a $1 trillion disruption that we all cheer for. Of course, Forbes, very, right wing, would love it if all lawyers just went away. But what they've identified is correct, is that the legal industry and Forbes and companies like Avvo and LegalZoom and LegalMatch have identified what the ABA has identified, which is there's this huge gap between people needing legal services and their ability or their willingness to go find them, buy legal services, and pay for them. And the gap is our fault. It's lawyers' fault, the industry, because we insist on continuing to practice and to promote ourselves or not, and to deal with consumers the same way we did maybe when I started. It was like, 33 years ago. And the consumer is well beyond that, right? And so what has happened is when you and I started building my website and started helping other lawyers, our competition was lawyers. Today, there's literally billions of dollars being put into legal services industry by venture capitalists who are backing companies like Avvo, Rocket Docket, Rocket Lawyer, things like that. And so you and I, when I'm building out Ben Glass Law, I'm not just competing with another lawyer in Fairfax. I'm competing with major money, and any lawyer can go test this. If you just do some of the typical vanity searches,
Sure.
Personal injury lawyer, Texas, whatever, you'll see that first page, search engine return page, dominated not by lawyers, except the ones buying the paid ads for $1 billion a click, but by these what we call the branded legal networks. So that's made it much more competitive and difficult just to get your message heard. And so, what you and I have done all these years was great, was looking back on it, easy, quotes around easy. It's a lot more difficult today. And so you have a consumer who, I've always said, they don't plan to hire a lawyer. They don't look forward to hiring a lawyer.
Like they don't have one in their pocket ready to go.
They don't have one. They're not like, even if they see a lawyer out on TV, they're not like, oh, I want one of them. Because typically they're thrust into our world by something has happened to them. Spouse is cheating, get arrested for DUI, all of a sudden need bankruptcy protection, get hit by a car. And so they're inexperienced. Like, we're pretty good about, most of us now, about going and buying on Amazon. We have our own routines. You gotta check the reviews, you want to see what other people say, you're going to price shop, but pretty much, Amazon is the place to go. You're going to order it, it's going to be fairly priced, you're going to get it like tomorrow. And that consumer, though, when they go to search for legal, they really have no clue. They don't have a method. And now, so you've got a confused, uneducated about buying consumer, and they're met with all of this, not just lawyer sites, but branded lawyer sites. And here we are trying to get our little websites, our typical solo and small firm attorney trying to get his or her website or his or her other marketing message via other media out there competing against these big companies. And I'll give you one other example. On iHeartRadio now, I think on every station, there's one of these branded networks, it's, it's the Injury Network or something. Like every 20 minutes, they're running ads. Well, this lady sued for, she used talcum powder and she got cancer, she got all this money, call us now. No one lawyer can compete. No one lawyer has the money to compete with these guys. So that's made it much more difficult.
I just had a conversation with a company that does mobile ads and targets people in the parking lots of hospitals.
Yeah. So we've, yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But I mean, like that.
It wouldn't be top of my list, but yeah. So right. So there's people that are funding that venture who are thinking about this, and that force. What happens, Tom, then is lawyers get distracted. They get pitched. We get pitched by all of these ideas, like, hey, you really ought to be buying a mobile app that is limited to 27 feet around Fairfax Hospital, and they go, well, should I? That sounds like a cool idea. That sounds smart.
Shiny new, shiny new.
Shiny new. And the last thing, really, and the bullet point on the slide is, oh my gosh, we lawyers are still battling back to get the trust of the American consumer, and it doesn't help when lawyers sue Starbucks for putting ice in iced coffee. Consumers think that's stupid. And I don't care if you're a DUI attorney, you're helping create franchises, or you're like me, a personal injury attorney, we all get lumped into the lawyers are stupid and they're killing us. And so there's this huge level of distrust, which means, hey, if I go to Avo, that looks trustworthy because it's not really lawyers.
Particular lawyer.
It's not a particular lawyer. Yeah, so it's made it tougher. Now, our whole theme at Great Legal Marketing and Foster Web Marketing is there's fundamental precepts, fundamental principles that if you get these right and do them well, we can talk about it, and do them well, that you're gonna be okay. But if you don't have principles, like most, I guess, congressmen and people running for president, then you just jump all over the place, wherever the wind goes. Right.
So what's a guy to do? What's somebody to do? What's a lawyer, solo and small practice guy? How do they compete, Ben? What do you do?
Well, look, at the end of the day, what you're really trying to do is to be, and Sally Huggs has written a terrific, she's updated her book called Fascinating. It's really good. Everyone should go and read it. But you have really three choices, like we're showing here on this slide, is, you can do your advertising, and there's no doubt that advertising works, and the guys and gals who can afford to spend the most on advertising, that will work. And if you're halfway decent at the advertising and you're halfway decent at deliverable of the services, that's going to work, and you're going to be fine. The problem for most of us is, okay, but where? Because I could buy an ad on a mobile app around Fairfax Hospital, or I could buy cable or local, or I could buy a billboard, and so your money, your dollar, your hour gets diluted just even thinking about this. The second thing is, all right, search. Well, now we talked about this. So consumers, if they're not responding to advertising per se, almost everyone I know is going on the internet to do background research, investigate, do all that stuff. And as as you mentioned a minute ago, what they find today, as we're recording this in September of 2016, is just a mess.
Sure.
I mean, where do you go? Who do you trust? And then the third one is, and again, this gets back to being fascinating, is referrals. And so our best cases, I mean, look, we have a terrific website. You know, I didn't mean to tell you, just our biggest problem is actually sorting through prospects who fill out forms and call us at all hours of the night. That's our biggest problem right now. We don't have a problem in generating that. But still, over time, our best cases come from referrals. Now that's
referrals from other clients.
Well, either other clients, or we have a pretty sophisticated, talk about marketing funnels, marketing funnel to get referrals from other lawyers. We'll be showing that system in part at the summit this year, and it's great, and it works particularly well in my long-term disability niche, where it's very simple and it uses postcards, but lots of them. And every month we're just in front of people, and we get tons and tons of lawyer-to-lawyer referrals from that. So referrals from past and present clients, referrals from lawyers, and referrals from small businesses. And that's what we're doing. And we're really good at the things that we do. So I don't have one of those.
Can I ask you a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, I want to talk about that for a minute, because that's what we find when we talk to all of our clients, is that they clients from referrals.
Yeah.
And what you've been teaching, and what you always teach at the summit, is how to make the most of your list, which is really making the most of your referrals and continuing. It's your herd. It's building a farm out back instead of going out to hunt every day, which is what, you know, we're talking about, competing, advertising, pay-per-click. I just had a conversation with a client last week about his frustration with the ever-growing cost of pay-per-click, and that, you know,
No kidding.
right? And that's how it works. And either way,
Right.
referrals, if somebody says, hey, you got to use Ben Glass, he was great for me 5 years ago, where are they going to go? What are they going to do?
Right.
They're going to go to your website. They're going to validate what their friend or their doctor or whatever is saying.
Well, but what's cool and complicated is that they're not going to go just to your website.
Right.
They want to go see what Avvo says and what Yelp says,
what other
and
people
what
say about
Google
you, right?
says, and so, you know, as you probably have found out, one of the most popular search phrases for lawyers now is something like, you know, Ben Glass Law Reviews.
Right.
Right. So what are we going to find there? But even so, let's just talk about the referral program. And you know, you mentioned your list, and we've always said, you know, talking about, you know, building the herd and stuff. But even that has become more sophisticated. So at our highest level, at our mastermind group, virtually everyone in that group now has a subgroup of their herd, which is some sort of what we're calling a VIP program, and we'll be showing that at the summit as well. And that's, I mean, so in the Ben Glass Law VIP program, people can sign up, they can download free legal documents, they can do everything they can do at Legal Match. It's just for free. We have contests every month. We're giving stuff out. We give books away, motivational books. And so now the really sophisticated, the lawyers who are doing sophisticated referral marketing are doing something extra. And I like to use the headline sometimes, Tom, how to pay for referrals from non-lawyers in advance. Because that gets everyone like, you can't do that, right?
Right.
You get kicked out of the bar.
Sure.
No, there's a way to do it, right? And believe me, we're 100% within ethical boundaries there, because I do like my law ticket. But my point would be that when I said we're really good at this, is that I think that the way lawyers today get more cases and get the right types of cases is to be really, really good, maniacally good at a handful of marketing funnels, if you want to call it that, or strategies, rather than trying to be in the game on 100 different strategies, or even a generalist in terms of what media and stuff you're using. And this is where most lawyers fall down, is that they'll buy the silver bullet or the purple pill, whichever's on sale this week.
Right.
You only, exclusive for you only this week. But then they don't know how to maximize the value of it. And every prospect, every lead today is so much more. It's so much more important that you extract value out of them. And there's two ways to do that, which we can talk about. But most lawyers never think of that.
I'd like to.
You can tell you got me going now.
Right, it's awesome. So the VIP program.
Yeah.
Now, and you're going to talk more about that at the summit, and you're going to
show something.
How you do it.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. And so the VIP program, is that how you get the consumer to put you in their back pocket if they need you?
Absolutely. Well, it's a couple of things. So yes, it's that, but it's also me saying before you ask, Tom, here's another cool benefit of being a part of our club. And so different guys and gals are doing this different way. And Chuck Boyk up in Toledo, I mean, he's gone out and has relationships with all these local stores. And so much like, you know, the kiddo from the local high school sells you a little card, we get $10 off a pizza and $5 off snow cone, stuff like that. Well, Chuck's done that under his brand, under the Chuck Boyk VIP program. And so there's different flavors of this. But it's a way to pay people, quote, pay people in advance for paying attention to you, which allows your marketing then to come into their house every single month. We also find it interesting because we end up dealing with a lot of different areas of the law that we don't normally deal with, and we've got a whole entire referral network of lawyers that we send these cases out to.
But I've seen bits of it. I've seen it in your newsletter where you offer to look at their legal documents and just give it, you know.
We've done all sorts of stuff.
It's really great to get a resource to be able to talk to a lawyer without actually hiring them.
That too, and now we're stepping in front of or between the consumer and Avo, LegalZoom, any of those places, because we are lawyers, we are in their town, they already have some relationship with us. We don't just, you know, they somehow they've come to our attention.
And ultimately, isn't it about people working with people they like, Ben? I mean, like,
yes,
that's really it.
Yes, which is why, again, lawyers, I think, sometimes have such a hard time being really, really good at this, because they don't want to, when someone says, okay, now we're going to do a customer service training. What? Customer service? I have clients. I don't have customers. No.
Right.
We're going to teach our answering intake team how to use scripts. No, that sounds like a sales team. Well, they are a sales team. And that's what I say, getting really good and honing on a couple of different things can make a big difference in your practice.
And so, what is it that we're talking about? What are they missing here?
Yeah. So really, so when we talk about marketing funnel, we're talking about the path that a consumer makes from idea, I need a lawyer, to you. And there's no traditional lawyer funnel or marketing funnel anymore, because the path consumers can take, as we've already alluded to, can be all over the place. They might call you first. They're more likely to be on the internet, researching, going to review sites, talking to friends, all of that stuff.
Social media,
all of it. So
everywhere. Right.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to shape as best we can that path that they're coming down, and we're trying to, as this first bullet point alludes to, we're going to automate it. Because if you want something done right, the answer is not do it yourself, by the way. The answer is automate it, right? And so you have this terrific automated follow-up system in DSS. You keep coming up with new flavors every 3 weeks. It seems like they're all really terrific. But if you want it to run 24/7 exactly the way that you need it to run, then you have to automate it. Now, automating doesn't mean it's all computerized, because you got a human element in there too. But when we're transferring it to humans, they're scripted. Oh, by the way, you're listening to those calls later to make sure that the script you worked on is actually being executed in your office, and that'll give you
that's another point. You have to be accountable. You have to pay attention. Right. You have to run your business. Otherwise, the business will run you.
You really have to, and it's the hardest thing for solo and small firm lawyers, particularly those of our friends who who work on the billable hour and stuff like that, is to spend time doing this administrative side. But what we teach is automate it, build it, automate it, so you can go back to practicing law. Because really, we want to help people. We want to practice law. We don't really want to be the hands in the bucket of sand marketers every single day. We want to build these funnels or these oil wells that keep producing, what we're talking here, prospects and leads and avatar client. And to us, a prospect is someone who has indicated that they exist to you. So they filled out a web form, they've called you up, they've responded to something, either your advertising, your web, whatever. They've responded. Well, that's it. They're just a prospect. They're not even a lead. A lead is somebody who actually meets your criteria. We'll talk a lot at the summit again. It's something that I always emphasize, is figuring out who you want to see walking in the door Monday morning as your client, and being very rigid about that, ruthless about that. That's another mistake lawyers make, is that they let everybody in the door and it just becomes a hassle, right?
Yeah.
And so a lead is somebody who meets your criteria. And well, where's your criteria? Well, it's published. So if you go to Ben Glass Law, you'll see our pretty rigid criteria, and we pretty much say, you'd be good for us if, and if you have this kind of case, no. And we're looking for more cases like this. And then moving them to
lawyers are scared to do that because
they're really, well, every business is,
right.
every business is, but the lawyers who I know who've done it, Beckham, Brian Beckham, Mark and Alexis Breyer, Boyk, Bob Battle, you know, it was, yeah, it was, you know, it was unreal to think you could get $500 for a DUI consultation, no more free consultations. Like, if you talk to the lawyers here in Fairfax about that, they go, that doesn't work, I need it to be cheaper. Many of them.
Right.
So that's all about choosing who your avatar client is. And then, you know, my position is that when you do marketing right, you do funnels right, you do it really well, you don't actually need to sell. So there's a lot of non-lawyer marketing gurus out there who are teaching how to close and how to have this close and how to overcome this objection and how to be really good. And no doubt they're good at what they teach, but I've always found that part distasteful. So I'd rather have people sitting at my table begging me to take their case, which is what our marketing does. And
plus, you'll have better buy-in from the client, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
You don't have buyer remorse if you've closed them, right?
And you have done this for years. I mean,
yeah.
You've made mistakes along the way,
sure.
But you've got this, and you know, I don't want to say turnkey, but we're talking about automated. But you've got a lot of the steps in places. This is what you teach people in GLM all the time.
Well, 100%. Some of the steps, you know, we haven't really changed in years and years and years. There are indeed, Tom, oil wells that produce prospects, which then automatically get moved to qualifiers to see whether they're leads or not for us. And so that's what we're talking about. And the last thing here, and this it's something every attorney misses here, and I'm just so surprised. But so if we have all these prospects, most of whom are not going to become leads.
Right.
Again, our biggest headache is we have to deal with prospects who aren't good for us, but trying to figure out how to monetize them anyway, right? And by that I mean I can still get reviews from prospects who don't become clients. I can get referrals from prospects who don't become clients. I can get raving fans from prospects. And most lawyers don't think about this, but if you take your marketing dollar and you divide it out among all your prospects and you're not monetizing somehow the prospects who don't turn to leads, then you're leaving money on the table and you make it harder for yourself. So again, there are systems and funnels to take all of those who don't meet our criteria, won't become our clients, but who will do something for us. And there's a way to position yourself so that they will be happy to go and give you reviews. It's one of the reasons why we have, you know, I check in every so often, like number 1, number 2 in Virginia, total number of reviews and lawyer endorsements, because we have built-in systems. And a lot of those come from people who never become clients, but they're authentic storytelling reviews.
That's fascinating. So I don't understand the process of how you do that, but I'm fascinated to learn that, and that's something that you're going to be teaching here at GLM coming up.
Well, Tom, you know, has my discussion with you today been helpful to you?
Yes. Of course.
I'm sorry I can't represent you. I've told you all the reasons why. Could you do me a favor?
I'm going to give you a review after you leave.
Could you do me a favor? Look, I'm going to send you a link, and you found me by the internet, and there's a lot of people, and if I send you a link, you'll fill it out.
That's right. If I have a puppy that needs a home, I know where to call.
That's right. You can call. Come visit.
All right. So let's talk about this. This is moving on here. This is important because you just brought this up a little while ago about being, you know, very, you know, we call it niche marketing, but it's really finding your perfect client. Who do you want to work for? You don't really want to do the work for everybody on the planet, right?
Well, that's true. And so the title of this point is, right, building lots of marketing funnels. And again, this is where most lawyers will not do this, which is good for us. And this is where automation and
why won't
things like, because it's work. I mean, look, most lawyers don't want to be marketing experts, and I get that. We have lawyers, 20-25% of GLM, they love this stuff. I love this stuff. I like doing it, but it's work even for me. And so when we're building out marketing funnels, again, there's no one solution for this, and so we're building out as many funnels as necessary for each type of case we are tracking. So in my office, personal injury, disability, malpractice, and associated dose criminal law. He's very good at that. So we've got at least 4 right there. But then within those, you have to say, well, where are they when they come to you? Maybe they just got hurt yesterday. maybe they've already consulted 5 lawyers. Well, the best marketing is going to have a funnel that is specific to where they are on what Dave Ogilvy called the moving parade of interest, which is that path that someone takes from idea to hiring a lawyer. And so if I have an automated funnel and you come to me and you were in a crash and your 5 puppies got hurt, and I happen to have a funnel that says if you were in a crash and you got 5 puppies that got hurt, I'm speaking directly to you automatically. Now I'm exaggerating here, but you are going to perceive anyway that you're in the right place. And so automation.
Because you have an affinity there. That's
because you have an affinity,
right.
and you are overcoming objections and talking to them with scripts for your live people, but also through your emails and responders and the things that you download or they download and you send to them. And the more of that you can create, again, the more oil wells you can create, the more you'll be talking directly to them automatically. Again, the guy who's filling out your form at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, if he's getting messages that are pertinent to him because your system is built for that, then he is going to be much more inclined to stick around until Monday to talk to you on the phone.
And that's the difference, what you were talking about before about having to sell a client, as if somebody waiting at your door for you to open up so they can talk to you about their case and hopefully convince you to take it.
Yeah, 100%. And so, we've built a lot of these at both GLM and at Foster Web Marketing. So lawyers who come to us, they don't need to start. They're not reinventing the wheel. It may seem like they're inventing the wheel from where they sit, but not from where you sit and where I sit. Because the one thing we've been doing here jointly, our 2 companies, is over all these years, is building a giant laboratory of helping solo and small firm lawyers build great practices, primarily through marketing.
It is rare that we hear something new. Would you say that?
It is, yes. Look, it is rare that we actually hear something new for sure, both in terms of what, lawyers' sort of objections to all of this, but even in terms of the toys used. There's always a new toy, a technology, but the reality is consumer is, again, thrown into our world, doesn't know what to do, is looking for a leader, is looking to be taught how to buy legal services, and wants to arrive at the conclusion that you are the wise man at the top of the mountain without you saying, I'm the wise man at the top of the mountain. It's funny, I watched a video accidentally. I was doing some research the other day, and it was a lawyer here in Northern Virginia, and who I think is a doofus, and I won't mention his name, but I think he must have said he was passionate about the practice of law 7 times in 3 minutes. That's not what we're talking about here. It's not you getting on a video saying, I'm passionate about the law. It's you getting on there and answering their questions and having lots of videos, hundreds of videos. The Jerry Jinsky, million videos.
Right.
But even Jerry doesn't have as many questions answered as Avo does. So that's still a problem. So that people can like you, because they're going to hire someone that they like.
Yes.
And then they want to back that. They want to know that you have the right credentials for their case. But it's not the other way around. It's not credentials first.
Right.
For sure.
That's kind of like the justification at the end. Like, okay, well, he did all that. That's to make them feel good about their decision.
100%.
But ultimately, it comes to people hire people and work with people that they like or they have some ability to relate to them.
And they want to feel that that there's that trust relationship, because they want to know that as soon as I sign on the fee contract, are you still going to be there, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why in this, one of the things we do in this last part is constantly letting the consumer know that you're actually really good and you're actually really busy. So a lot of our autoresponders, as you may know, or as you may guess, we get hundreds of inquiries like yours every week,
right?
And we're working through them, and you kind of pitch us. And I'm being a little bit dramatic. You got to pitch us on why we should take your case.
Right. Why should we put you at the front of the line?
Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're just going to be a commodity, and you're going to be paid commodity fees, and you're always going to be miserable. I mean, in my view. Now
you got to be brave to do that stuff, man.
You got to be, but you do your P90Xs. I do my hard-ass workouts on soccer fields. It doesn't make either one of us feel good while we're doing it, right? But you feel awesome later, and you have to be brave.
Right.
I mean, you have to be brave, but it's totally up to you. So another thing that you and I have always said is where you are today is a product of all the decisions you made in the past, and where you'll be in next year at this time is a product of the decisions you make. It's not anybody else's fault.
And that's another thing of just about GLM and the summit. What's so great about it is if you come to this thing, you're going to be surrounded by other people in various parts of that journey. And, you know, this is a journey. This is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. It is a lifelong journey, marketing, and just getting better. A lot of the stuff that we used to do, we don't do anymore. You know, people are like, why doesn't that work? Well, hey, you know, remember Alta Vista? Remember Excite? You know, those search engines are long gone. You remember AOL? You got mail? That was the, you know, what happened to that? And there was no social media when we first started on this stuff. So always new stuff coming along.
That's true, and that's one of the reasons that they need to be there, and particularly to hear you talk, because you know you spend lots of money every year sending your team out to the latest, greatest tech conferences to find out, you know, where is the edge today in, you know, on the internet in particular.
So these are some examples, and we did a podcast about the second one.
Yeah. Well, that's right, we did.
Which is, we won't get in more detail.
I have no short-term memory.
Right.
but Jean Eustace is a woman, and we've just filed her case and issued press releases on it. But I think she represents today's consumer. So she came to us having vetted probably, she told me, 8 or 9 lawyers, most of them by visiting websites, some by visiting in person, some by telephone. She came to us with her stack of Virginia codes on funeral processions. She knew all the case law. She clearly had done her research.
Those are the best kinds.
And she, well, that, you know, that can go both ways. That's like a doctor who comes, the patient comes in with the diagnosis. But I think she represents today's consumer. They're not just opening the yellow pages and calling whoever's closest by. They're doing their research. Now, we actually, we like that, but we're only going to like that if we can disavow them of whatever misconceptions they have, right? Because people will, they don't know what to trust on the internet. So, but she knew the cases, she knew the statutes, she knew she was hurt.
She educated herself.
She's educated herself. She was injured in a funeral procession, an intersection accident where a funeral home didn't ask for law enforcement assistance, sent 2 dimwits out into the intersection with small signs. One said slow, the other said stop. She got slow and stop at a 4-way intersection on a highway. And she got badly injured. But she's today's consumer. Chris Hummel, who's our gallbladder case, who, you know, we talked about in our last podcast, was she's downloading our book. Her husband actually downloading our book while she's in the hospital recovering from the surgery. And a long tail, a long time before she signed with us. Right. So that's another thing. Automation allows
you kept in contact.
Well, that's right. You kept in contact because lawyers think, again, mistakenly, I think, that, oh, if they didn't hire me today, they went and hired someone else. It's just not true. It's just not true. And, you know, the fact that people are visiting 8, 9, 10 websites and consulting with lawyers and stuff. And
even if they come to you first and they move on to somebody else, make sure you capture them because they might not be happy with somebody else. Right, and if they're still on your automated back-end campaign and you're sending them emails or letters, they'll be like, wow, you know, this guy really knows his stuff. This guy that I hired is a bozo, right?
Right. Of course, when they go to our website, they say they find out that if you hire the bozo and then come back to us, we say no. So you should hire us first. And that's scarcity. That's all a part of
very effective
scarcity. Yeah, and knowing your avatar and having principles to live by. So that's what I'm big on is getting lawyers to focus on principles, be it life principles or marketing principles, sticking to them, sticking to what's tried and true, and not being distracted too much by all of the mess that's out there, all the vultures are out there trying to sell you stuff.
And you're going to be talking about this at the GLM Summit again this year?
Yep. October
21st and 22nd, right here in Arlington, Virginia. And so you can get more information about this gang at glmsummit.com. This is what? Our 8th year?
Well, GLM is 10 years old, and honestly, if you started counting the things we did when there was 14 people in the room, it's probably 10 years.
Right. Well, it's come a long way, and it's been a lot of fun.
We all remember Newark.
That's true. Oh, yeah. That was a fun ride home.
Yep.
Anyway. But yes, I encourage everyone to come. Check it out, glmsummit.com. You're going to hear the man himself, Ben Glass, and lots of other speakers. I'm happy to be presenting as well, talking about internet stuff. I'll be telling a lot of stories myself about rags to riches, lawyers that came to us downtrodden on the verge of bankruptcy and now have 9 offices and are just killing it, and they're, you know, driving Porsches and live on an island or whatever they do. And so you're going to teach them along with Charlie and Colin and the rest of your crew. And we've got a bunch of speakers, and Fusionsoft will be there. And
Dave Freeze will be
Dave
there.
Freeze will be there. The characters. It'll be a good time as always.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this earlier, and we'll kind of close with this, is there's no other collection of lawyers, there's no other event where there's so many lawyers and their staffs, and they're actually happy about the practice of law, and they're excited about the stuff they're learning, and they're excited about implementing it, and, you know, probably half the people there will be coming back for their second, or in some cases, fifth or sixth summit. And typically when they come back, they bring more people with them from their teams. So, and I challenge any other lawyer convention to show me a room of happier, more positive, more entrepreneurial lawyers, because I don't think it exists.
It's true, Ben. I've just had a couple of meetings or conversations this week with existing clients that are mutual clients of GLM and Fosterway Marketing, and they can't come because they're so busy now. And I just had a conversation with one of our clients earlier that they just went on and on and on and thanked us because they started out, his words, refrigerator-size office, and now they have 7 offices. So, and that's just in, just a few years. And they started, of course, by coming to GLM.
Yeah. There's plenty of stories like that at the summit, and people who come for the first time will find someone else like them who's just a little farther along the journey than they are. And when you find that person, you should take them to dinner and pick their brain and develop a relationship. It's all about relationships.
All right, Benjamin. Thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Back to my puppies.
Back to your puppies. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this webinar, and hope to see you at glmsummit.com. And see you in late October. It's beautiful here in D.C. in late October, so come see us. Thank you. Take care.